A cosmic library appears only when the sun vanishes completely. This is the Lost Archive, a collection of ancient prophecies and histories said to reshape our understanding of human civilization. By the end of this journey, you will know why this myth has captivated cultures for thousands of years and what its existence might mean for our future. Could entire histories be hidden in plain sight, waiting for a moment of darkness to reveal themselves? What would you risk to read a book that only exists for a few minutes? This universal human reaction to an eclipse is not just about the spectacle itself, but about the profound shift in reality it represents. In ancient Mesopotamia, court astronomers were on constant watch for such an event. They believed a solar eclipse was a direct omen, a celestial message predicting the death of a king. To avert this fate, a substitute ruler would be temporarily enthroned to absorb the bad fortune, only to be quietly removed once the danger passed. This was a matter of life and death, dictated by the vanishing sun. Meanwhile, on the other side of the world, Viking cultures told a different story. They saw the eclipse not as an omen, but as a chase. They believed the sky wolves Skirl and Hati had finally caught their celestial prey, plunging the world into darkness as they devoured the sun or the moon. These interpretations, though wildly different, share a common thread. They all view an eclipse as a moment when the normal rules are suspended. The predictable path of the sun is interrupted, daylight is stolen, and the universe behaves in a way that feels fundamentally wrong. This creates a powerful psychological and symbolic opening, a crack in the fabric of everyday existence. It is the perfect catalyst for the impossible. If the sun itself can disappear, then why couldn't a forgotten library materialize from the void? The temporary darkness is more than just an absence of light, it is a threshold. The alignment of celestial bodies acts as a key, turning in a lock we cannot see, opening a door that is only there for a few precious minutes. This is why the myth is so compelling. It takes a real astronomical event and weaves it into a narrative of revelation. The eclipse is not a random timer. It is the very mechanism of discovery, the celestial trigger that makes the Lost Archive possible. Bronze Age scribes were the first to give this legend a name. On Sumerian cuneiform tablets, archaeologists have found tantalizing references to a library of the gods, a collection of divine knowledge said to appear only during the Great Darkness. These ancient texts speak of tablets containing the true names of the stars and the blueprints for human civilization itself, all hidden away, accessible only when the sun was stolen from the sky. Similar ideas appear in early Egyptian hieroglyphs, which tell of a hall of records, a repository for the wisdom of a lost world that predates our own. These are not just stories, they are records, fragments of a belief system that saw an eclipse not merely as an omen, but as a doorway. Centuries later, the Greek historian Herodotus collected travelers' tales from the edges of the known world. He wrote of a hidden repository of knowledge, a place that could only be found when the sun was swallowed whole. The accounts he gathered were remarkably consistent, describing vast chambers filled with artifacts and texts that held secrets of advanced ancient cultures, or perhaps even beings not of this earth. This suggests the legend was not confined to one region, but was a thread woven through the tapestry of many early civilizations. The core of the myth remained unchanged for millennia, even as it absorbed elements from different traditions. The eclipse was always the key, the singular celestial event that turned the lock. This persistence points to a deep and universal human desire, a need to believe that the most terrifying and awe-inspiring moments also hold the greatest potential for revelation. We are driven to believe that within the chaos of the inexplicable, there is order and meaning waiting to be found. The lost archive is the ultimate symbol of that hope, a promise that darkness is not empty but full of answers. This universal yearning for hidden wisdom takes on 1,000 different faces across the globe. The ancient Maya, master astronomers who could predict eclipses with stunning accuracy, saw these events as a critical turning point in the endless cycle of creation and destruction. For them, the temporary darkness was a moment when the veil between worlds grew thin, potentially allowing access to sacred knowledge about the very architecture of time itself. Far across the oceans in Hindu tradition, myths speak of a hidden Vedic text, a single, potent scripture containing lost mantras of immense power, which is only revealed when the sun and moon perfectly align. It is not a physical library but a spiritual one, unlocked by the celestial key of an eclipse. Chinese folklore offers another vivid interpretation. There, an eclipse was not an omen to be feared, but a moment of divine revelation. They believed celestial dragons, beings of immense wisdom, would momentarily unveil great scrolls of fate during the darkness, allowing those who were brave enough to look up to catch a glimpse of their destiny. Even the Norse, with their tales of a final, apocalyptic twilight, described a hall of records that would emerge from the mist only during such world-ending events, its runes holding the secrets of what was and what could be again. Each of these cultures, separated by vast distances and centuries, projected its deepest values and its greatest fears onto the same celestial phenomenon. The archive was not merely a storehouse of facts. For the Maya, it was a cosmic blueprint. For Hindu sages, it was a source of spiritual power. For the Chinese, it was a book of fate, and for the Norse, it was a record of all things. This cross-cultural tapestry reveals something profound. The lost archive is far more than a collection of information. It is a powerful symbol, a bridge between the human world and the divine. It represents the ultimate prize, knowledge so transformative that it is both desperately sought and deeply feared, for who knows what truths we might find in the dark. But this knowledge was never left undefended. Across countless traditions, the archive did not stand alone, it was protected. These were not mere locks or traps, but sentient, otherworldly guardians, beings who only stepped into our reality when the sun vanished. They are described as everything from angels and demons to spectral animals, all serving a single, sacred purpose: to ensure the archive's profound secrets did not fall into unworthy hands. In some stories, these watchers are ancient librarians themselves, eternal scribes who continuously record the unfolding of cosmic events and human histories, their sole duty to maintain the purity of the knowledge they protect. Consider the Babylonian Apkallu, 7 divine sages who were said to bridge the gap between the gods and humanity. These figures were more than wise men. They were depicted as guardians of sacred texts, especially during powerful celestial phenomena like an eclipse. Their presence transforms the myth from a simple treasure hunt into a test of character. To seek the archive was to invite their judgment. This adds a crucial layer of mystique and danger to the legend. Finding the archive was not just a matter of being in the right place at the exact moment of totality. It also required immense courage, immense purity of intent, or perhaps even a spark of divine favor. The Guardians embody a universal truth found in so many of our oldest stories, that profound knowledge is never easily obtained. It is always protected, always earned, and always watched over by forces far beyond our ordinary comprehension. What would these eternal watchers see if they looked upon us in that moment of darkness? Would they see curiosity or greed, a seeker of wisdom or a thief in the night? The answer to that question might be the true key to unlocking the archive's deepest secrets. So what would you actually see if you found it? The descriptions are as varied as the cultures that dreamt of it, yet they all share a common, breathtaking strangeness. Many accounts speak of a structure not built from stone or wood, but woven from the eclipse itself, an architecture of solidified shadow and captured sunlight. Imagine walking through a grand hall where the shelves are not fixed, but float and drift like gentle clouds, each one realigning itself to present a specific text to the seeker. The contents of this celestial library are just as incredible. Some tales describe walls lined with crystalline tablets that pulse with a soft, internal fire, their surfaces alive with moving glyphs that tell their stories without words. Others tell of vast, silent caverns where scrolls unroll on their own, revealing maps of forgotten continents or charts of stars not yet born. The most persistent theme in these descriptions is that the archive is not a dead, static place. It is a living, responsive entity. It is often depicted as an ever-shifting maze, where corridors rearrange themselves and chambers change their contents based on who is walking through them. The archive might react to your deepest intentions, presenting you with knowledge you secretly seek, or it could be shaped by the unique astrological signature of that particular eclipse. This profound fluidity means that no two visits, even by the same person, would ever be exactly alike. The library you encounter during one totality would be completely different from the library revealed during the next. This suggests the archive is not just a collection of objects, but a conscious, sentient intelligence, a guardian and curator of all knowledge, using the cosmic power of the eclipse to momentarily take a form we can perceive. It is this breathtaking, impossible imagery that has fueled the myth for thousands of years, making the lost archive one of humanity's most enduring and beautiful mysteries. Within this living library, the knowledge itself is said to be as vast and varied as human imagination. The most commonly described texts are detailed prophecies, not simple predictions, but entire chronicles of futures that have not yet unfolded. These could be warnings of global catastrophes, from the slow rise of oceans to the sudden impact of a celestial body, or they could be blueprints for coming golden ages of peace and discovery. Alongside these futures rest the complete, unedited histories of civilizations we now consider only myths, like Atlantis or Lemuria. Imagine reading the true, first-hand account of their rise, their daily lives, and the precise, catastrophic era that led to their sinking beneath the waves. This speaks directly to our deepest curiosity, the burning need to know what really happened, to fill the blank spaces on our historical maps with certainty. But the archive's contents are not limited to the past and future. Many legends insist it holds what can only be called forbidden knowledge, scientific and magical secrets that defy our understanding of physics. This includes the formulas for true immortality, the architectural plans for bending time and space, or the chemical compositions for transmuting base elements into gold. Possessing such secrets would grant a person power beyond that of any king or emperor, which is precisely why the stories say it is so fiercely guarded by otherworldly sentinels. And then there are the quieter, perhaps more heartbreaking treasures. Some accounts describe the archive as a museum of never-was, containing the greatest artistic and philosophical masterpieces that were never painted, never written, and never composed in our timeline. It is a gallery of humanity's lost potential, a symphony of what could have been if history had taken just one slightly different turn. This incredible diversity of content, from apocalyptic warnings to beautiful ghost art, reflects every facet of our own anxieties and aspirations. The archive is a mirror, showing us that what we truly seek in the darkness is not just information, but meaning, power, and a glimpse of our own unrealized brilliance. The type of eclipse matters immensely in these ancient stories. A total solar eclipse, where the moon perfectly blots out the entire sun, is almost always described as the grand event, the moment the archive manifests in its full, breathtaking glory. This is when the celestial lock clicks open completely, and the great doors to the library are said to swing wide. The symbolism is powerful and direct, total darkness for a total revelation. But what about the other kinds? An annular eclipse, where a brilliant ring of fire remains visible around the moon's silhouette, is often portrayed very differently. In these legends, an annular event might only cause the archive to flicker into a half-existence, its halls unstable and its texts incomplete. You might catch a fleeting glimpse of a floating scroll or hear a whisper of a forgotten language, but the full knowledge remains just out of reach, protected by that persistent ring of sunlight. A partial eclipse, where only a portion of the sun is covered, is rarely even mentioned in these myths. The darkness is simply insufficient, the key only partly turned in the lock. The archive remains utterly hidden, a promise unfulfilled. This precise differentiation shows that the myth-makers were not just dreamers, they were keen observers of the sky. They wove the specific, measurable mechanics of astronomy directly into the fabric of their stories. They understood that the quality of the darkness directly influenced the potential for revelation. Some of the most intriguing and feared tales involve hybrid eclipses, a rare celestial phenomenon where the alignment shifts, causing the eclipse to appear annular in some parts of the world and total in others. These unstable events are said to grant access to the most volatile and dangerous wings of the archive. The knowledge there is raw and transformative, but the library itself is described as a shifting labyrinth, its corridors changing in the blink of an eye. This creates a compelling narrative framework where science and symbolism are perfectly intertwined. The archive is not a simple light switch flipped on by any darkness. Its appearance is a complex gradient of accessibility, perfectly mirroring the beautiful, precise dance of the sun and the moon above us. History is filled with those who claim to have stood in that impossible library. Medieval monks, their lives dedicated to transcription, wrote of strange, glowing symbols that danced across the monastery walls during an eclipse, a language of pure light they could almost but not quite understand. Centuries later, Victorian-era explorers returned from remote deserts with tales of stumbling upon vast, intricate structures made of a stone that seemed to drink the light, structures that vanished when the sun returned, leaving no trace in the sand. These accounts are captivating, but they live in a shadowy realm between documentation and desire. They are often light on verifiable proof and heavy on the personal transformation of the witness. The famous 19th century mystic Helena Blavatsky, founder of the Theosophical Society, frequently alluded in her writings to a secret, cosmic wisdom she accessed during powerful astronomical alignments, strongly hinting at an eclipse as the catalyst. She spoke of revelations concerning ancient, advanced root races and the true nature of human consciousness, yet she never produced a single page from these celestial texts. This pattern is telling. The most compelling testimonies are not from charlatans seeking fame, but from sincere individuals whose profound experience during totality defied their own understanding, leading them to interpret it through the most magnificent lens available to them, the legend of the archive. This does not make their encounters less real to them, but it does weave a complex web for historians to untangle. These stories, whether born of genuine mystery, psychological awe, or deliberate hoax, all serve the same powerful purpose. They are the lifeblood of the myth, each one a new thread in a tapestry that has been growing for millennia. They speak to our deepest hope that a moment of awe can become a moment of discovery, and they stand as a permanent caution, reminding us that the line between a world-changing truth and a beautiful story is often as thin as the edge of the moon. Science offers a clear verdict on a physical archive, a structure of impossible physics appearing and vanishing with the moon's shadow. The mechanics of an eclipse are perfectly understood, a predictable alignment of orbits with no known energy or mechanism to manifest such a wonder. Yet, the persistence of the myth across millennia demands a deeper look, not at astronomy but at the human mind. Psychologists point to the unique state of consciousness triggered by totality. The sudden, unnatural darkness, the plunging temperatures, and the appearance of stars in the daytime sky create a potent cocktail of awe and disorientation. This altered state can heighten perception, blur the lines between reality and imagination, and make the impossible feel momentarily plausible. In this shared, breathless moment, a collective story can feel like a shared reality. The archive might be the ultimate symbol our brains create to explain the unexplainable feeling of totality itself. Another compelling theory views the legend as a cultural fossil, preserving a very real historical practice. For ancient civilizations, an eclipse was not just a spectacle, it was a deadline. It was a moment that demanded action, often sparking a frenzy of record-keeping. Scribes might have been tasked with inscribing the event on clay tablets, priests with writing new prophecies based on the omen, and rulers with commissioning new monuments to mark the occasion. In this light, the lost archive is not a library that appears, but a library that is created. It is the sum total of all the stories, records, and art produced in response to the eclipse, a cultural repository born from the darkness. This reframes the entire myth. We are not searching for a hidden chamber of crystal tablets. We are standing within it every time we share the story. The archive is the enduring human impulse to make meaning from the magnificent and the terrifying, to weave a narrative of hope and discovery around a moment of cosmic chaos. It is a story we have been telling ourselves since the first time we looked up and saw the sun disappear, and in that story, we find a deeper truth about our own unending search for light in the dark. This powerful myth did not remain confined to ancient tablets or dusty folktales. It found fertile ground in the modern era, its themes of hidden knowledge and cosmic timing inspiring generations of storytellers. The master of cosmic horror, H.P. Lovecraft, wove this idea directly into his chilling fiction. His terrifying Necronomicon, an ancient book of forbidden knowledge, is often described as being most potent or perceptible during certain celestial alignments, a clear echo of the archive appearing only under an eclipsed sun. His stories are built on the fear that gazing upon such truths could unravel a person's sanity, a direct parallel to the ancient warnings of the archive's otherworldly guardians. This tradition continues to thrive in contemporary novels and films, where an eclipse is a classic narrative trigger. It is the key that unlocks a hidden magical world, awakens a dormant superpower within a character, or reveals a hidden realm existing just beside our own. The blockbuster fantasy series A Song of Ice and Fire and its television adaptation Game of Thrones famously used a long-lasting eclipse-like event as a central plot point, a supernatural winter that brought with it ancient terrors and forgotten magic. This is the myth adapted for a new audience, but its heart remains the same. The video game world eagerly embraces this concept, using it to build immersive lore and gameplay mechanics. In the vast role-playing universe of the Elder Scrolls series, solar eclipses are not mere skybox decorations. They are world-altering events that can open portals to oblivion, awaken slumbering deities, or empower certain types of magic, allowing players to directly interact with this ancient idea. Other games use eclipses to reveal hidden paths, trigger boss fights against ancient evils, or grant access to secret areas filled with unique loot and lore. This interactive experience allows players to not just hear about the legend, but to live it, to feel the anticipation as the sky darkens and the rules of the world temporarily change. These creative interpretations do more than just entertain. They are the life support system for an ancient belief, adapting its core themes for new generations and new media. They prove the idea's incredible flexibility, showing that the longing for a revelation hidden in the darkness is a timeless human drive. Each book, film, and game becomes a new tile in the mosaic of the myth, ensuring the lost archive never truly fades from our collective imagination. These rituals were a form of preparation, a way to make oneself ready for a potential encounter with the impossible. In certain Native American traditions, the community did not panic at the onset of darkness. Instead, they saw it as a sacred pause, a time for profound silence and deep reflection. During this quiet, elders would share the most important oral histories, passing down the stories that defined their people. In a very real sense, they were not just waiting for an archive to appear, they were actively creating one. They were weaving a living library of memory and wisdom, a cultural archive born from the shared experience of the eclipse itself. This practice beautifully merges the myth with tangible action, turning a moment of potential fear into one of cultural reinforcement and learning. On the other side of the world, Tibetan Buddhist practices approached the eclipse with intense spiritual precision. They viewed this celestial event as a moment when the veil between the mundane and the divine became incredibly thin, amplifying all spiritual energies. Monks and advanced practitioners would engage in specific, powerful rituals and meditations designed to harness this surge. The goal was to purify negative karma, to achieve breakthroughs in understanding, and in some esoteric schools, to directly access hidden streams of knowledge known as terma, or concealed teachings. For them, the eclipse did not reveal a physical library, but rather a spiritual gateway to a higher archive of consciousness. These varied practices, from silent storytelling to complex meditation, all share a common foundation. They treat the eclipse not as a passive spectacle to be observed, but as an active, participatory event. The people involved were not merely hoping to find a lost archive, they were using the unique energy of the moment to build their own. They understood that the true key might not be a physical location, but a state of mind, a condition of spiritual readiness that the eclipse itself could help them achieve. This transforms the entire myth from an external treasure hunt into an internal journey of discovery. This timeless quality is the archive's most profound and bewildering feature. We are not simply talking about a library that contains old books and future prophecies. The stories suggest the structure itself exists outside the flow of time as we experience it. Imagine stepping into a room where the past, present, and future are not separate shelves but a single, swirling, interconnected tapestry. A visitor might turn a corner and find themselves standing beside a scribe from ancient Sumeria, diligently etching a cuneiform tablet that describes the very moment you arrived. In the next chamber, you could witness a council from 1,000 years from now, debating a crisis that was first foreseen in that same Sumerian text. This is not time travel in the conventional sense. It is more like all of history is happening at once within its walls, and the eclipse merely grants you a temporary visa to step inside. This idea resonates with countless mythological themes of eternal wisdom, where knowledge is not a linear progression but a complete and whole thing, accessible all at once to those who know how to look. It transforms the archive from a simple repository into a living model of the universe's fundamental structure. If this is true, then the greatest secret it holds is not a specific fact about the past or future, but a direct understanding of how time itself operates. This raises staggering philosophical questions. If you were to read a detailed account of your own future, would that knowledge grant you the power to change it? Or would your attempt to alter events simply be the very action that ensures the prophecy comes true? The legend touches on the deepest human debates about free will and determinism, fate and choice. It suggests that within the archive's shadowy halls, you wouldn't just be learning history, you would be engaging with the very mechanism that writes it. This dimension elevates the myth beyond a simple treasure hunt. It becomes a story about the nature of consciousness and our place in a cosmos where time might be the ultimate illusion, a river we only know how to swim downstream in, while the archive exists as the still lake that contains the entire watercourse at once. This relentless drive to find the archive has not faded with time, it has simply evolved. The modern era has seen the myth transition from campfire tales to organized expeditions, with teams of researchers and enthusiasts dedicating vast resources to a singular goal: to be standing in the right place at the exact moment of totality, armed with technology the ancients could never have dreamed of. These quests often target remote locations steeped in legend, from the high deserts of Chile, where the air is so clear the stars feel close enough to touch, to ancient temple ruins in India that are said to hum with a strange energy when the moon passes before the sun. The tools of the trade are no longer sacred amulets and prayer scrolls, but arrays of sensitive magnetometers to detect fluctuations in the Earth's magnetic field, infrared cameras to see wavelengths of light invisible to the human eye, and devices built to measure any conceivable anomaly in the fabric of local reality. The methodology is a fascinating fusion of cutting-edge science and ancient faith, a belief that if a doorway does open, our instruments might finally be able to measure its frame. The results, however, remain stubbornly elusive. No expedition has ever returned with definitive, verifiable proof, no crystal tablet or scroll of light. Yet they almost universally return with something else, something far more personal and perplexing. Participants consistently report a catalogue of strange, subjective experiences that occur only during those brief minutes of darkness. They speak of sudden, overwhelming disorientation, as if the ground itself has subtly shifted beneath their feet. They describe brief but incredibly vivid waking visions of vast, impossible architecture that vanishes when the sun returns. Most commonly, they report the complete and inexplicable failure of their electronic equipment, as if some immense, silent energy surge has washed over them, frying hard drives and draining batteries in an instant. To a skeptic, these are merely the products of heightened emotion and suggestion, combined with the very real physiological effects of witnessing a total solar eclipse. But to those who experience them, these anomalies are not proof of failure. They are the opposite. They are tantalizing clues, interpreted as signs that they were achingly close to something monumental, that the archive was just beyond their perception, its proximity interfering with their minds and their machines. These modern quests, whether ultimately successful or not, prove that the legend is far more than a story. It is a catalyst. It pushes us to journey to the ends of the earth, to point our technology at the sky, and to personally test the boundary between the known and the unknown. They are the latest chapter in humanity's oldest story, the enduring need to venture into the dark, hoping to come back with a little more light. This legend endures because it speaks directly to a fundamental human need, the desire to believe that the universe holds deeper answers just beyond our sight. We are driven by a profound thirst for hidden knowledge, a curiosity that has propelled scientific discovery and spiritual seeking for millennia. The idea of a lost archive perfectly captures this longing, offering the promise that all our questions have answers if only we could find the right key. Solar eclipses provide the ultimate metaphor for this search. They are literal liminal states, moments of pure transition where day becomes night and the ordinary rules of reality seem to pause. In that suspended, breathless darkness, the idea that a doorway could open does not feel like fantasy. It feels like a natural extension of the awe we are already experiencing. This myth taps directly into our most archetypal stories, the hero's journey into the unknown and the quest for a transformative revelation. These are not just tales we tell, they are frameworks for our own lives. We all navigate personal eclipses, moments of upheaval and change where the familiar world falls away. The legend of the archive gives us a powerful symbol for these times, suggesting that within our own periods of darkness, we might also find unexpected wisdom and clarity. Ultimately, the myth is a mirror. It reflects our deepest hopes that chaos has meaning, that loss can lead to discovery, and that a moment of fear can transform into a moment of profound understanding. It is a story we return to because, in the end, it is a story about us. This cosmic alignment is a breathtakingly precise celestial dance. The sun is 400 times wider than our moon, but by an almost impossible coincidence, it is also 400 times farther away. This perfect ratio means that when their orbits align, the moon can completely obscure the sun's brilliant face, creating the awe-inspiring spectacle of a total solar eclipse. The mechanics are governed by gravity and motion, a predictable clockwork of orbital mechanics that astronomers can forecast centuries into the future. We know exactly when and where the moon's shadow will touch the Earth, tracing a narrow path of totality across the surface of our planet. This scientific understanding is powerful, demystifying an event that once terrified ancient cultures. Yet, knowing the equations behind the alignment does nothing to diminish the raw, emotional power of witnessing it firsthand. The plunge into darkness, the sudden chill in the air, the appearance of the sun's ethereal corona, these sensations trigger a deep, primal awe that logic alone cannot satisfy. This is the fertile ground where mythology takes root. The human mind, faced with such profound beauty and strangeness, instinctively seeks a deeper narrative. We are compelled to weave stories around the event, to imbue the mechanical alignment with meaning, purpose, and magic. The predictable path of the moon's shadow becomes the fleeting trail to a hidden library. The temporary darkness transforms into a doorway. Science gives us the how, but myth gives us the why. They are not opposing forces, but two different languages we use to describe our place in the universe. One language is built of mathematics and physics, explaining the clockwork. The other is built of symbol and story, explaining the wonder we feel when we hear that clockwork chime. This beautiful duality allows us to fully appreciate the legend of the lost archive. We can marvel at the astronomical precision that makes the event possible, while simultaneously delighting in the mythical interpretation that makes it meaningful. We don't have to choose between the wonder of science and the wonder of story. We can, and we do, hold both in our minds at once, allowing the cold equations of orbital mechanics to make the hot fire of human imagination burn even brighter. This warning lies at the very heart of the legend, a chilling counterpoint to the promise of ultimate enlightenment. The archive is not a gift, it is a test. The most persistent tales are not about the glory of discovery, but about the silence that follows it, the broken individuals who return from the darkness with their minds shattered by what they have seen. They speak of truth so vast and alien that the human psyche cannot contain them, of prophecies so absolute that they strip away all free will, leaving only the hollow shell of a predetermined fate. This is the true role of the archive's guardians. They are not merely protecting knowledge from thieves, they are protecting humanity from knowledge itself. They are the cosmic fail-safe, ensuring that a species not yet ready for such power does not accidentally acquire it. The myth suggests that some doors are locked for a reason, and that our curiosity, however noble, must be balanced with a deep humility. What good is knowing the precise date of your own death, or the exact moment your civilization will fall? This is not wisdom, it is a prison sentence written in light. The legend forces us to ask a terrifying question. If you stood before a book that contained every secret of the universe, would you truly have the courage to open it? Or would you realize in that final moment that ignorance is not a weakness but sometimes a shield? This idea transforms the myth from a distant wonder into an intimate mirror. We all experience personal eclipses, moments when the familiar light of our lives is suddenly and completely obscured. It could be the profound darkness of a loss, the unexpected shadow of a career ending, or the temporary obscuration of a health crisis. In these moments, our normal routines and assumptions vanish just like the sun, and it is in this unsettling, fertile darkness that a different kind of knowledge often appears. We might suddenly understand the true value of a relationship we took for granted, or see a new path forward that was invisible in the glare of our daily hustle. This is the revelation. This is your personal lost archive opening its doors. The wisdom was always there within you, but it required the eclipse to make it visible. Think of a time your own plans were thrown into shadow. What did you learn about yourself in that darkness that you could never have seen in the light? The myth endures because it tells us that these periods of obscuration are not empty. They are full of potential. They are not something to be merely endured, but something to be embraced as a rare and powerful opportunity for discovery. Your inner archive, filled with resilience, clarity, and hard-won truth, is waiting for its moment of totality. The legend of a hidden universal library echoes far beyond the path of the moon's shadow. We find this powerful idea woven into the very fabric of human mythology, a recurring dream of a single source for all knowledge. Consider the Great Library of Alexandria, a real institution that has since taken on a mythical quality. Its tragic destruction fueled a centuries-long yearning for what was lost, a tangible archive of the ancient world's wisdom that came to symbolize any perfect, complete repository of human understanding. In a more mystical vein, Theosophy presents the concept of the Akashic records. This is not a physical library but an ethereal one, a cosmic compendium of every thought, word, and event that has ever occurred, said to be imprinted on a non-physical plane of existence known as the Akasha. One does not need an eclipse to access it, but rather a profound state of heightened spiritual consciousness. Then there is the enduring legend of a hall of records, a vast, hidden labyrinth said to lie beneath the pores of the Great Sphinx of Giza. Popularized by the Prophecies of Edgar Cayce, this fabled hall is purported to contain the lost knowledge of Atlantis, waiting to be revealed to humanity when we have evolved enough to understand its secrets. Despite their different origins and access requirements, these stories sing a common chorus. They all speak to a deep, universal desire to preserve the totality of wisdom, a belief that a divine or supremely advanced ancient source once provided a complete blueprint for existence. Each myth also carries a crucial caveat that such powerful knowledge is never left unguarded or easily found. It is always hidden, protected, or lost, only to be revealed at a pivotal moment in time to a civilization or individual deemed worthy. This comparative view does not diminish the lost archive of the eclipse. Instead, it elevates it. It shows us that this is not an isolated fantasy, but one brilliant variation on a timeless human theme. Our species seems hardwired to believe that the answers are out there, somewhere, waiting in the shadows for the right key to turn. This intentional concealment is the very soul of the mystery. If the archive contains such transformative wisdom, why would it be locked away behind a celestial event that occurs only a few minutes every few years? The myths are unanimous on one point: the hiding is not an accident, it is a deliberate and necessary protection. The knowledge within is portrayed as immensely powerful, far too dangerous to be left lying around for anyone to stumble upon. It is the ultimate double-edged sword, capable of elevating a civilization to new heights or dooming it to absolute ruin. Think of it like a potent medicine that can cure a terrible disease, but in the wrong hands, it becomes a deadly poison. The archive's guardians are not just librarians, they are the ultimate safety inspectors, ensuring this cosmic power does not fall into the hands of someone driven by greed, ambition, or a simple lack of understanding. They are the fail-safe for the universe's most dangerous truths, but the secrecy might serve another, more profound purpose. It could be the ultimate test of character. The very act of seeking the archive, of dedicating your life to understanding the celestial timing and preparing yourself spiritually, might be the very process that makes you worthy of its contents. It filters out the casually curious from the genuinely devoted. This transforms the quest from a simple treasure hunt into a hero's journey of personal transformation. You are not just trying to find a library, you are trying to become the kind of person a library would reveal itself to. This narrative deeply reflects our own world's complicated relationship with knowledge. Throughout history, powerful information has always been guarded, from ancient religious mysteries shared only with initiates to the classified scientific discoveries of the modern era. We instinctively understand that some truths require maturity, context, and responsibility to handle. The legend of the lost archive takes this universal human experience and projects it onto a cosmic scale, asking us what we would do with the ultimate truth, and more importantly, what that truth would do to us. This enduring myth did not simply remain a story. It became a foundational pillar for countless esoteric traditions, a wellspring of authority for seekers of hidden truths. Alchemists, those ancient pioneers of matter and spirit, saw in the eclipse a perfect metaphor for their great work. The moon's shadow passing over the sun was the nigredo, the crucial first stage of dissolution and blackness necessary for transformation. They believed that during this celestial alignment, the veil between the physical and the spiritual was at its thinnest, offering a fleeting window to access the ultimate prize, not just the philosopher's stone that could turn lead to gold, but the philosopher's stone of knowledge itself. This was a moment to receive divine inspiration, to understand the secret formulas of creation that were otherwise locked away. This tradition seamlessly wove the archive's concept into the very fabric of their practice, making the eclipse a sacred laboratory for the soul. In modern times, this influence has evolved yet again. Contemporary channelers and intuitive mediums often schedule profound meditative sessions to coincide with eclipses, believing the energetic gateway it opens allows for clearer communication with higher realms. Many claim that during these moments they are not just receiving general guidance, but direct transmissions from the lost archive itself, downloading complex information about human history, future probabilities, and spiritual anatomy. This demonstrates the incredible flexibility of the core myth. It is a concept so powerful that it can be adapted across centuries, from the sooty workshops of medieval alchemists to the quiet meditation rooms of today, all while retaining its essential symbolism, a promise of ultimate revelation waiting in a moment of darkness. The archive's legacy is its endless reinterpretation, its ability to serve as a source of inspiration and authority for every generation that looks to the sky and wonders what secrets it might be hiding. Yet this powerful story is often stripped of its nuance in modern retellings. A persistent misconception paints the lost archive as a literal, physical library, a sort of cosmic bank vault that simply materializes in a desert or a forest for anyone standing in the right spot at the right time. This interpretation misses the point entirely. Most scholars of mythology and cultural history argue that the archive was never meant to be a place you could pin on a map. It is far richer than that. It functions as a profound allegory, a narrative device crafted by ancient cultures to explore the deepest questions about the nature of knowledge itself. Is wisdom something we find or something we build within ourselves? Is time a straight line or a vast ocean where past, present, and future swirl together? The archive is the perfect symbol for wrestling with these immense ideas. Another common error is the belief that every culture described the archive in an identical way. We have already seen how its form and contents shift dramatically from one tradition to the next. For the Maya, it was a cosmic blueprint. For the Hindu sage, it was a spiritual vibration. For the Chinese storyteller, it was a divine scroll of fate. To flatten these distinct and beautiful variations into a single, generic description is to erase the unique cultural fingerprints each society left on the myth. Appreciating these differences does not diminish the legend's power. In fact, it enhances it. Understanding that the lost archive is a symbolic construct, not a historical fact, allows us to engage with it on a much deeper level. We are freed from the fruitless search for crystal tablets and can instead focus on the real treasure, the timeless human themes the story explores. This perspective invites critical thinking. It asks us to consider why we are so drawn to these tales of hidden wisdom, and what that says about our own relationship with knowledge, mystery, and the unknown. The archive's greatest gift is not a secret about the universe, but a mirror held up to our own endless curiosity. Perhaps the archive's greatest secret is that it refuses to be pinned down by any single era's understanding. As we push the boundaries of quantum physics, some theorists speculate that the myth could align with concepts like non-local consciousness or quantum entanglement, where information transcends physical barriers and becomes accessible under specific, resonant conditions. A total eclipse with its unique gravitational and electromagnetic signature could theoretically create such a resonant window, a temporary bridge to a layer of reality where all information coexists. This is not about finding a dusty room of books, but about tuning our instruments, and perhaps our own minds, to the right frequency to receive a signal that has always been there. Yet for every scientific hypothesis, there is an equally compelling argument for the power of pure metaphor. The archive may forever exist in the realm of story because it answers a need that data alone cannot satisfy. It represents the eternal frontier, the beautiful unknown that lies just beyond the edge of our current knowledge, compelling us to keep searching. Its future is not one of discovery, but of perpetual reinvention. It will become a virtual world in a video game, the central mystery in a best-selling novel, or the inspiration for a new generation of artists and philosophers. The archive does not need to be found because it was never truly lost. It is a story we tell ourselves about the nature of mystery itself, and as long as we look up at the sky with wonder, we will ensure its next chapter is always being written. The legend of the lost archive is a profound testament to our endless fascination with the unknown. This enduring myth is not about a single library, but about the very human desire to find meaning in the magnificent and the terrifying. It weaves together our understanding of the cosmos with our deepest cultural stories, our psychological need for answers, and our ethical debates about the power of knowledge itself. Whether you interpret the archive as a literal place, a powerful symbol, or a beautiful story, its real magic lies in the questions it forces us to ask. What do we truly seek in the darkness, and what does that search reveal about us? The next time you stand in the path of totality, remember that the greatest discoveries are not always what we find, but how the quest changes us. The journey for understanding is its own form of revelation. Thank you for exploring this mystery with me. If this journey into the shadows resonated with you, feel free to share your own thoughts and theories below.